So, first things first, Zach. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm all good.
Well, before we talk about the current music, I'd like to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Do you remember the first album you ever bought?
The first album I ever got was a tape. It was a cassette tape, and it was Led Zeppelin 1.
Okay.
That was the first. I think the first one I ever bought with my own money that was like a tape was maybe Counting Crows, August and Everything After.
And then, well, Led Zeppelin you were given, Counting Crows, you chose yourself.
I chose myself, yeah.
So what was it about Counting Crows?
I loved Adam's voice. I still love Adam's voice, but I think it was just like the songs and hearing this kind of emotion and like, I don't know, like I don't think I was old enough to realize like what someone being super honest was, or maybe I was old enough to realize it, but I wasn't far enough along to classify that like this is really honest music. But that's what it felt like. It felt like it was really honest, and I think that's kind of what maybe spoke to me about it.
And if you looked then at Led Zeppelin, you were given Led Zeppelin. What were your thoughts on Led Zeppelin at that time?
That was like the first thought of me like thinking maybe I wanted to be in a band, because I remember hearing Good Times, Bad Times, which is the first song, and I remember like the first time hearing Robert, you know, doing In the Days of My Youth, I was told what it means to be a man. I was like, I had never heard anything like that musically, you know, and I just remember being amazed by it. I was probably 7 years old, 6 years old. So it was a big deal to me, and I just remember hearing the first da-da-na, and I was like, what is this? And what is this like loud guitar? And so I think that was like for me, like, I think where Counting Crows made me want to be like a writer, Led Zeppelin made me want to be in a band.
How much were they apart? Was it around the same time?
No, because I was given music from an early age, so Led Zeppelin was very early. Counting Crows I bought with like allowance money or like birthday money or something, and that was in 93 or 94. Okay. So I was 10 maybe when I bought my first, like myself. But my dad bought me music all the time.
So in that sense, you say when you heard Led Zeppelin, you felt, okay, maybe this is the thing for me. So
yeah, I don't think at 6 years old I knew I wanted to be in a band. I kind of didn't really discover that till later. Okay. But I think it made me aware of music, and it made me aware of how music would make you feel. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's probably where it was.
And when did it become something you actively engaged in? When
I got a guitar for my 12th birthday, and I never really played it. It stayed in my closet. I actually, when I first got the guitar, I didn't know you were even supposed to put your left hand on it, which is very odd. And then I, right before I turned 13, probably like 2 months before I turned 13, I was watching a music video in my house. I was by myself, and I think it was Bush Machine Head. And I went and I got the guitar out of the closet, and it was probably like missing a string at this point and probably way out of tune. But I looked at Nigel Pulser, the original guitar player, Bush's hands, and I just kind of started doing it, like just watching him. And it was probably awful. Like it wasn't like I picked it up and I was just going na 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 na. You know, it wasn't that, but it's like I kind of got the grip of it, and I remember it causing a feeling in me that it was the first thing I ever picked up on my own that came really naturally. Like, you know, I tried to be an athlete when I was a kid. You know, I played basketball, soccer, all that stuff. So, baseball. But it was like it came naturally to me, and that's kind of why I think I took to it more.
And then on the songwriting side, you mentioned Counting Crows. So when did the songwriting come into the mix?
It's weird when my guitar influences lent themselves to not wanting to really be a writer, and lent themselves to maybe wanting to be more of a guitar player. So I loved songwriting from a very early age. I was able to, listen to things and know what they were, but I didn't really want to be a songwriter till probably like 16 or 17. Like it wasn't, I was way more into Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Freddie King, stuff like that, B.B. King. I wanted to be a guitar player. Songwriting kind of was like in the back of my head.
Did you take to it as you did to the guitar, to songwriting?
No, I picked up guitar. I was way better at guitar earlier than I was at songwriting. I still don't think I'm great at songwriting. So I don't think anybody thinks they're good at songwriting. I think that you write what you write. And, I grew up in this, I was born in '83. So by the time I was a teenager, there were things like the Counting Crows. There were, I was really into U2 as a kid, which is my favorite band of all time, Thin Lizzy. But I also grew up with, like I said, people like Counting Crows, people like Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, who I think are some of the greatest writers, of this generation.
And then if we fast forward to, now you're playing with Shinedown.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was 2008 that you joined?
No, 2005.
Oh,
I officially.
Oh, okay.
But I've been with the band for 11 years now.
Right. So that first introduction, how familiar were you with the music of Shinedown?
I had known about it because I had toured with other kind of like active rock bands before. Like I was working for a band called Saliva, and then I played bass for Saliva, and then I was working for a band called Three Doors Down. So we had seen them, and I had known their first record because I kind of started touring with them during the last kind of month of their first record before the second record came out. Mm-hmm. So I was familiar with it. Not like I didn't own the records or anything, but I was familiar with it.
So when you kind of turn up, is that an intimidating thing when you are asked to join a band? Or?
It wasn't intimidating, maybe a little bit of an overstate, but it was nerve-wracking in the sense of they asked me to fill in at the time and play bass because Brad Stewart, our original bass player, was going to have a child. So I was a guitar player, obviously, but they had seen me play bass in Saliva. And so it was nerve-wracking because we didn't rehearse and we didn't do a sound check. We walked on stage and I had never played with these three guys before in my life. So it was off to the races, throw you into the fire. So it was nerve-wracking, but I wasn't intimidated really. Yeah.
How did the show go?
It went really well.
Okay.
Really surprisingly good.
And did you immediately have the mindset of contributing creatively as well? Or did that come later?
No, that didn't come till much later. I was a hired gun. I mean, I was, I got a salary. I got a weekly paycheck just to be there and play rhythm guitar. I played bass and then I played rhythm guitar. So I wasn't a band member. I wasn't, I did go to meet and greets and meet fans and do stuff like that, but I wasn't doing interviews in 2006. I wasn't a member of the band, but I was on tour and I was a guitar player.
Was it important for you then in 2008 become an official member?
I think that they knew that I was dedicated to it, and they knew that I had my whole heart in it. And plus, we had just brought Eric in, so it was kind of it lent itself to wanting to feel like a band, and I think that's probably where it all kind of came down from.